Hi, thank you so much for joining me again on my vlog journey of sharing myself, my self-care, my spiritual quest in which I am delving deeper into finding and falling in love with myself, with my true self, with who I am choosing to become. So today's video, I'm going to talk about my hair. And as you can see, I have some little pearls that I sewed into it recently. And I don't know whether or not you can see that, but I've had to sew up some of my locks. And I don't call them dreadlocks, I call them Lovelocs, because some of them were like fraying and falling out, like that one fell out completely. And another one has completely broken off as well, which was quite scary at the time. But something that I reminded myself of when when the locks were falling apart and things, was that I decided to grow the locks because I felt guided to. In 2013, I went to Bali and had an amazing, challenging, beautiful, wonderful time. But the whole time I was there, I had this big, beautiful afro. And the whole time I was there, people would want to touch it and were like, "Oh, where's your hair from? Your hair's so amazing, your hair's beautiful." And I was like, "Well, but I'm more than my hair. I'm not just my hair. Yeah, my hair's amazing and wonderful, but I'm more than my hair." So I came back and I cut it off. So I went not completely bald, but pretty much the lowest haircut that you can have with still a bit of hair on it. And I loved it. I felt so beautiful, and I was terrified of doing it when I was a child. People used to come up to my mom and say, "Oh, you've got such a lovely little boy," and so in my childhood, I kind of developed a bit of a complex that I looked like a boy and that I wasn't very pretty. So cutting my hair off was like a really big deal, and also for women, particularly black women, it's like this thing. Like, I had been obsessed with my hair all of my life. Like, I had good hair, according to people who've watched the Chris Rock film called Good Hair. I had good hair. I had hair that did what it was told most of the time. When I had it straight and relaxed, it was, shoulder length, and it would move with the wind, and and people, like, I had good hair, like, but I was obsessed with it. I would spend 5 hours from washing, relaxing, getting it straight, perfection before I went out. Like, my hair had to be perfect. And when I started on my self-love journey, I went back to natural. I started growing out the relaxer. I started relaxing it. And I stopped treating it. I stopped basically putting any form of heat on it whatsoever. So my hair got really strong and really healthy, and that was for about 4 years. And then I grew this beautiful, luscious afro, which was wonderful, and that presented its own level of challenges, making it look nice, and what products to use. And I really didn't want to use any products with too many chemicals in them, so I was using all natural products and things like that. And then it got to a point where as I said, I came back from Bali, and I was sick of being identified as being the one with this wonderful afro. And I was just like, okay, what can I do? So I just shaved it all off, as you do. And then after a few months, it started going back, and I was like, okay, what next? And then I started having this dream where I had really beautiful long locks, and I'd never thought of having locks. Like, I really kind of associated them with Rastafarians, and kind of like a culture that I don't really know anything about, and you know, with like hippie types and stuff like that. And although I'm very spiritual and into a lot of new age kind of things, I'm also, I don't class myself, I don't see myself as being particularly hippified. I'm not into a lot of the ideologies that these kind of new age thinkers believe in. So I don't associate myself as being a hippie. I don't associate myself as pretty much anything. Like, I'm just finding my own way, trying to find my own tribe. So anyway, so I had this dream and I was like, okay, God, if that's what you want me to do, then I will do it, because the dream was reoccurring like every night. I don't remember my dreams, and B, they never come back. So it kind of felt like this, and you know, and it was after I'd prayed and asked for guidance on what to do with my hair next. Because it was either keep shaving it, keep it short, or grow back the afro. You know, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go with the locks. And then so I started looking for pictures of the kind of locks that I wanted, and I saw this amazing image of this woman with big, really chunky locks, and I was like, okay, that is what I want. But when it came to actually doing the locks, I couldn't commit to the thickness, because I wasn't getting, like, I thought my hair was really thick, and I thought I had a lot of hair, but there wasn't enough for it. Like, I just wasn't happy with the way it was turning out. So I ended up doing quite thin locks. And I just thought, well, if I want thicker locks at any time, then I can always twist them up or plait them, and then I've got more of an option. And I knew that the locks journey was not going to be easy, because I'd looked at a few things, and there were a few people saying how challenging they found growing locks, and I'm very conscious of how I look. And you know, my hair was like short when I started growing the locks, and this is kind of like literally a year, and I started the locks on 31st of October, and I've been meaning to do a video about them ever since, but for one reason or another I was put off. So this is kind of like a year, November, December, January. So like a year and 2 months of growing, from like literally that long to now they're like a really decent length, and they've really matted, and they're quite substantial. So, and I'm really proud of them, but the journey of the locks has been quite painful, because obviously when they're short, it's not particularly attractive. I didn't really know what to do with it, and I used to wear a head wrap when my hair was growing out a bit, so I just kind of wore a head wrap for a few months, and then started rocking like a little headscarf, and now obviously they've grown quite long, and yeah, so happy days. And so another aspect of it has been going blonde, and I now call them my Goldilocs. And I also don't call them dreadlocks, because I don't like the word dread. I haven't looked into the origin of the word, like why people call them dreadlocks, but I just don't like the word dread, so I call them Lovelocs. Because it feels more appropriate and apt to love my hair, you know, love. Why would anyone call them dread? Like, dread it's got very negative connotations. Anyway, so then what happened was, I wanted to have a few blonde highlights through my locks, and I went to my hairdresser, and she did it all blonde, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it. And I've had blonde highlights before, but I've never been completely blonde. And so it was challenging for a few reasons, because firstly, having that much chemical on my hair when I've been pretty much natural and trying to only put natural things on my skin and in my body, and then, you know, it's a commitment to be blonde. And also the kind of products that I would need to maintain my hair being blonde is another, you know, it's kind of like more chemicals. But I just kind of, it felt right. And then it was summer, and it kind of like was golden, it was beautiful, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it. And then recently what's been coming up for me is memories of, or kind of like reminders of how I a lot of inferiority that I've had in my life about blonde women, and kind of like childhood stuff from my past when I used to feel, you know, that there weren't images of beautiful black women on TV when I was growing up. And even in the media now, like the media is mostly pink skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. You know, like that is the norm, the perception of beauty for most societies. Not, I was going to say for Western society, but even for, you know, like the perception of beauty is pink skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. I know that there's a level of innocence, and you know, that is one of the things that draws the eye. Also is like the goldenness of the hair. So I've had kind of like a few conflicting issues inside with being blonde, and feeling authentic and standing in kind of like my integrity of how I want to present myself to the world. And so I just see everything as being part of my journey. Like, I made the decision to be blonde. Ultimately, I accepted my hairdresser's decision to make me completely blonde instead of just highlights. And I love it. I enjoy it. I love the colour that my hair goes. I love attention. I love people appreciating the colour and things like that. So everything about my quest to find and fall more deeply in love with myself is, you know, I always get sent these lessons. I don't need to go looking for healing or for lessons anymore, because my daily life brings me opportunities to learn about myself, to uncover things that I need to let go of, things that I need to heal. And thanks to some timeline therapy that I've been receiving, some coaching, and now I'm really connecting with like a deeper sense of love of myself and a deeper sense of self-worth, and just knowing how valuable and worthy I am and how beautiful. So yeah, I think I just wanted to share a bit about my journey of going blonde, growing locks. You know, it's all about just loving myself. And when I can really like look in the mirror and just think, you know what, you're really beautiful. And that beauty is not only about what I see when I look back, when I look in the mirror, when I look back at myself in the mirror. The beauty is who have I been during like the last 24 hours? You know, how have I treated myself? Have I been living with myself? That's beautiful. You know, have I worn clothes that make me feel good about myself? That's beauty. Have I told myself that I love myself? Any time that I've looked in the mirror, have I looked and kind of been looking, searching for faults, or have I looked and just thought, you know what, you're beautiful? You know, that is the beauty. That is allowing my beauty to shine. So I think I'm waffling on a little bit now, but yeah. So this journey of growing locks, it has been painful in the past. You know, some of them are thinning again, so I'm gonna have to do, you know, some more surgery on them and just sew them up a little bit with a bit of thread to make sure that they don't break off some more. But ultimately, it's all just about how am I expressing myself? How am I sharing myself with the world? And does it feel congruent with who I actually want to be? And at the moment, blonde Lovelocs is where it's at, and I'm loving them. And I do get lock envy when I see women, like people, men, women, doesn't make a difference, with like locks down their back. And I'm like, oh, I want to do all the tying it up, and I want the long locks. But patience, you know, like this is a journey of patience and faith. And you know, if I have to shave them off for any reason and start all over again, then that's what will happen. So I'm just give thanks. Thank you so much for sticking with me and for listening to my waffle. And maybe you've picked something up from it. I don't know. I'm just going to finish with a quote from this book that I bought a few years ago. It's called Simple Abundance, a day book of comfort and joy. And it's by Sarah Ban Breathnach. And it's just a little quote. It says, "My business is not to remake myself, but make the absolute best of what God made." And that's by Robert Browning. So thank you for joining me. Namaste.